Hey everyone, and welcome to Power Women Summit's Content Creators Building Your Brand. I'm Emily Vogel, Head of Programming for TheWrap and WrapWomen and host of the WrapWomen podcast, Unwrapped. Today I'm here with some of social media's top digital creators, and I'm about to do some major fangirling. So I hope you're ready because I know I am. Let's bring out our panelists. Amelie Zilber is a 19-year-old Gen Z digital creator, political activist, and model who uses her platform to share a variety of content, which she describes as beauty and fashion with a socially conscious twist. Part of that twist includes educating her nearly 10 million followers on politics in an easy and digestible way. She is also the founder of 2 Minute Times, a weekly political newsletter summarizing top weekly political headlines. Chloe Lukasiak is originally known for being a fan favorite cast member of Lifetime's reality television series Dance Moms. Chloe's dance and television career has earned her a huge social media following with millions of fans across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Chloe's YouTube channel has gained over 1 million subscribers in just 1 year's time, resulting in partnership deals with top brands such as Pantene, CoverGirl, Invisalign, Victoria's Secret Pink, and Playtex, just to name a few. Christina Najjar, aka Tinx, is the breakout star behind its Me Tix accounts. The former brand strategist, better known as TikTok's big sister, amassed 1.4 million followers on her social media platforms in less than a year, with her quintessential product reviews and rich mom starter pack videos. Tinx has worked with a range of brands, including BMW, Mini Cooper, Chipotle, Spotify, The Real Real, and many more. Lauren Mihamaki, also known as Lord DIY, rose to fame with her DIY videos, resulting in over 8.6 million subscribers and 21 plus million followers across all platforms. At 28, Lauren has since launched the podcast Wild Till 9 and is currently the host and executive producer of HBO Max's series Craftopia. She also has numerous profitable business licenses and brand integrations in fashion, tech, and beauty with products sold at Target, Amazon, and Walmart. Lizzy Capri is a YouTuber and philanthropist with over 11 million followers across platforms. While Lizzy is best known for her high-energy videos and family-friendly content, she is also the co-creator of Team RAR, one of the most successful YouTube creator groups of all time. And most recently, she was nominated for Breakout Creator of the Year at the 2019 Streaming Awards. Welcome, everyone. Oh my goodness, quite the resumes. So welcome to Power Women Summit. I'm excited for our chat. You guys are all amazing. So let's get started. And I first want to talk about and dive into each of your origin stories. How did you become a creator? And I know this might sound silly, but is it, one day you're like, I'm going to start making YouTube videos and posting them, or I'm going to post a funny video on TikTok. How does it start? And Tinx, I want to start with you because you're relatively new to the space, really kind of gaining your following during the pandemic. And as I just mentioned, you have experience as a brand strategist prior to this. So I'm curious to know how that influenced you and what knowledge you were able to take into this career as a creator.
Yeah, so I lived many lives before my current iteration as a digital creator. And I think that that's something that, I'm grateful for because I learned so many lessons from all the different jobs that I had leading up to this one. In a way, right before I started content creation, I was creating, but in a different way. I had been freelance writing since I graduated college. I was an English major at Stanford undergrad, and I have a master's in journalism. And my favorite thing, I had a bunch of other jobs, which would take a whole other hour to talk about. But my favorite thing was freelance writing for sites like Pop Sugar and Teen Vogue. And so I was doing that. And then obviously when the pandemic hit, not a lot of cheery articles were being written. So I was like, you know what, I might as well download TikTok and give this a go. And from the second that I made my first video, I realized this is what I was always supposed to do. And that I love to entertain. I love to connect with other women through creativity. And it's just been a dream since then. So yeah, pretty new to the game. Still the oldest TikToker, but I'm cool with that.
I love it. And Chloe, I kind of want to turn to you next because your journey is also sort of different because you started on television in reality TV and then transferred into being a creator. So can you talk about that?
Yes, so as you mentioned, I was on Dance Moms. I started when I was 9, and around that time is sort of when Instagram popped up. And because I was already sharing so much of my life with people, I decided to make an Instagram account and then was just posting stupid selfies back then, but still sort of entered into the digital space around that time. And ever since then, have just shared my whole life on YouTube, Instagram, now TikTok, everything. So I'm just really comfortable and familiar with sharing like all parts of my life with people. So it felt really organic to go from reality television to the digital space. And it's way more fun on the digital space because you have way more control over what you share and the sort of voice you have and what you tell people. And it's fun to create new content. So that's how I got my start. Very, very organically. We were on like the back of the bus that we would travel on every weekend, just posting like videos of us dancing. And it's been like that ever since.
I love it. And Amelie, you similarly have kind of grown up within this digital social media space. Can you talk about that? Were you starting to post when you were really young, or has it been something more recent?
In a way, I've been posting since I was really young, but I was posting on my newsletter when I was I started my newsletter when I was 12. And I was breaking down the news every week, sending that out to my 12-year-old friends, trying to get people my age at the time to care about what was going on in the world. And I did that for 6.5 years every Sunday. So in a way, I've been posting, but it wasn't necessarily a social media type of post. I had a personal private Instagram that I would like upload my my newsletter to, but I didn't really start posting until the end of 2019 and beginning of 2020. That's when I started actually sharing content via social media in a more public way. And when the pandemic hit, I saw an urgent need to bring what I was through the newsletter to social media and meeting Gen Z where they were at. So content creation started for me very much in the height of the pandemic as well.
Right. And Lauren, you're kind of more of an OG YouTuber. You, I think, have been in this space for 10 years, I think, a long time. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's been I think just about exactly 10 years. I started in my first year of college. I enrolled in a program that was just not as creatively inspiring as I had initially anticipated. So it kind of ended up being my just like my creative outlet. And I actually started a blog in the days of blogs 10 years ago first. And so I was doing DIY tutorials, just using like photos and text blurbs on this blog. And eventually I kind of turned to YouTube more as just a platform to do a more in-depth tutorial on how to do the DIYs that I was doing. So I was essentially just like making videos to embed that video onto the blog. And then I realized eventually that obviously YouTube was its own platform in itself, and there were these incredible communities. So it's been 10 years of uploading consistently across a few different channels. And obviously, because it's been 10 years, I've also gone through a whole variety of content through the different eras, and it's transformed into a much bigger business and entrepreneur opportunity since then.
Now, follow up to that. So you've been posting, like you said, consistently for 10 years. Do you ever run out of things to post?
Yeah, short answer, yes. I mean, like there's definitely times where you feel creatively drained for sure. But I mean, like we have such incredible communities to turn to for inspiration that even if there's not something that I feel like personally came to me for inspiration, there's just so many amazing creatives in my community that I can be like, oh, what do you want to see? Like, what are you into right now? So it's very much been a community-driven creative journey for me as well.
I love it. That's great. Okay, now Lizzy, I think I saw 2017 is when you kind of got your big break. Let's hear about it.
I actually was working at LinkedIn as a technical writer. So it was like super opposite of what I do today. Just growing up, I think my creativity was almost suppressed by just like school systems and the way, my parents raised me is very rigid. But once I saw the opportunity to make YouTube a career, my creativity really like came out, and I was kind of able to fulfill like that gap within me that I didn't even know I had until we started doing YouTube. And I think one interesting thing that we were able to do was kind of have a more analytic approach I studied statistics in college as well. So it really helped to kind of study YouTube before diving fully into it and approaching it in a more data-driven aspect. And I think that really helped us blow up in the beginning, and the creativity really helped us continue sustain it.
Great. Well, I think it's super interesting that so many of you, have this background in writing or data, as you mentioned, or brand strategy, and you're able to kind of bring that and help make your individual brand unique, which is kind of leading into my next question, which is I want to talk about your individual brands. And if you could talk about, your target audience. There is so much content out there, and I feel like more and more creators every day. So I'm curious to know how you break through the clutter, how you're able to find the holes in the market. And Amelie, I want to start with you because as I mentioned earlier in your bio, you cover fashion and beauty like many, but you have that element of the socially conscious twist. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think when you were kind of saying like, who's your target audience and how do you kind of like figure out what your niche is, and I think mine just kind of organically fits into my brand. So talking about politics and breaking it down lends me to educating more so like Gen Z and younger people, and my target audience is 15 to 30 because that's kind of the prime age where people tend to see politics in a more apathetic light. So that's like my target audience, and the niche just fits perfectly with who I am because I started with politics and that has followed me through. And politics isn't such a heavily saturated space on social media. So that kind of just fits really naturally into where I post and what I do on social media. But my brand is politics with fashion and beauty because I kind of have always grown up living in the stereotype that like pretty girls can't be smart, right? So my platform is entirely dedicated to breaking down that stereotype and making sure that I empower women and everyone to believe in the fact that they can have beauty and brains. So the beauty and fashion is a like lighthearted and fun part of who I am that I share on social media, and the politics is like who I am at my core, but doesn't always have to be so serious.
That's super cool. Now I want to go to you, Lauren. I know we were just talking about, your 10 years within the industry. So same question for you, but I'm also curious, have you had to rebrand over that time as well?
So I mean, it kind of happened by accident where I cornered myself into a very family friendly kind of niche of the internet. I think it just started because like DIYs are like crafting projects are, for all ages, but it kind of skewed to a younger audience. And so eventually, being 28 now, a few years ago, I was like, oh my God, like if I have to do another back to school DIY, like I have been out of school for many, many years. And so it just started feeling so inauthentic to who I was as a person. And I wanted to be having meaningful conversations with women who were of my own age and going through similar struggles because, we're going through the same stages of life. So I had to kind of make that jump. And obviously not everyone's going to be happy with becoming someone. I mean, I want to say becoming someone new because I've always been the same person, but kind of tailoring the content to the demographic of kind of like my own age, that like 20 to 35 female demographic. And so it was so easy for me to kind of pivot the messaging and the content because I wanted to make content for someone that would be similar to me. So it's like, okay, well, what do I want to watch? But it's definitely been, again, jumping through different hoops to reinvent yourself throughout the years.
Right. And Chloe, kind of same question for you, because I feel like, did you have to go through a rebrand and kind of, I'm not the young girl that you saw on television. I'm a different person now. Did you have a rebrand there, or who are you constantly continuing to make content for now?
I think the rebrand came naturally. I've always stayed really true to myself throughout my entirety of being on social media. So I've never like pushed anything too far where I've been uncomfortable or felt like I wasn't being true to myself. That's been my number one thing throughout social media, is like, I want to use my platform for good because I was given this space and this opportunity since I was little. So I realized at a really young age that I have a voice, so I need to use it for good. So that's why I to talk about the things I do and open up about the things I do. And like the rebrand came naturally as I grew up. Like everyone sometimes kind of assumes that I'm still a 9-year-old, but I'm 20 now and I'm growing up. And I think you can kind of see that in my digital spaces. And really similar to Lauren, actually, I read this thing a long time ago because I'm a creative writing major at Pepperdine right now. So I'm also a writer. And so I read a long time ago, write what you want to read. And I really apply that to social media because I always create what I want to watch, because this space can easily become oversaturated. So I always make sure that the best thing I can do is produce content that I want to watch, that I'm interested to hear about and learn about. So that's the only way you can really keep going in a space that new people are joining every day.
Yes, that's super interesting. It's really interesting that you guys are all writers too. That's an interesting path as well. Lizzy, what about you?
I really love to keep my audience inclusive, just like anyone can watch. And so, I do try to stay family friendly. But that being said, I love pushing the boundaries of, what can we do that's extremely ridiculous and big, and how can we film it in a way that's digestible? It really helps keep my content feeling fresh. And, after being a content creator for, I guess, a couple years now, it does start to feel like a job. I think from the outside perspective, a lot of people kind of see us in our lives as like more fun than it is a real job, but it does become to feel like it is a job, and it is. That being said, there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes, and the business aspect. So I think everyone goes through this phase of a pivotal moment in their career. I think I'm kind of in the phase of that where I'm like, okay, this is no longer like a hobby, or it's a real business, and I'm going to build out a whole team. I'm going to build out a system that I can automate so that I can continue to do this sustainably, because I think it does get repetitive. As much fun as we're having on camera and as much cool stuff we get to do, having fun starts to get kind of tough. So in terms of continuing to give my audience what they want while being able to sustain it on my end, I do try to keep everything super inclusive. I love the idea of just anyone can watch, whether you're 5 or 20 or 40. So yeah.
Now, follow up to that, I know, speaking of kind of the business thing, you also have Team RAR, and is it RAR or just RAR?
Yeah, it's RAR.
Okay. Can you talk about that, the work that you're doing with that creator group?
Yeah, so we actually all met through content creation. And Carter, he's my boyfriend. Carter and I met in college. We both swam together, and then after that we kind of tried out the whole 9-to-5 thing, and then we were like, you know what, let's like pivot, let's do YouTube together. So we ended up doing that, and then through that we kind of wanted to create something bigger than ourselves. We loved just the idea of having this friend group, this dynamic, something where people can really relate to and feel included in and feel like they're a part of the team. And that's kind of where Team RAR came from. Everyone, so we have Stove and Ryan, they're also creators, and Bailey's like also a creator. He's like an honorary creator, but we kind of came together through content, and we love to film together. We're also really close behind the scenes, and so it really comes organically to have built this thing. And it's really cool because we didn't build it, like not one person built it, we built it all together. And so there's so many inputs from all of the team members of what we wanted our logo to look like, how we wanted to create the dynamics. And so it's kind of like all of our babies instead of just like one person forging the way. And so I think that's what makes it really special. And it's just super fun to have other creators to kind of make content off of. It does get a little lonely sometimes, I think, without that. And so it's nice to have that support structure there.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, Tinx, over to you now. Tell us about, your audience, your brand, what's going on over there.
Yeah, I think the one thing that took me by surprise in all of this is just the genuine deep love that I have for my followers. Like I didn't understand when I would hear other creators or musicians or what have you say, I love my followers so much, and I have this deep relationship with them, which I absolutely cherish. And I'm very vulnerable with them. I think that's been a big part in building up the trust that I have with them. And I'm also really honest with them. So if something, isn't working, whether it's a product or a boyfriend, I let them know. And in terms of my brand, I wouldn't say I'm completely family friendly. There's a couple swear words and naughty references once in a while, but I speak to predominantly women. I always say I do it all for the girls and the gays. And it's like a 20 to 50, honestly, range, maybe even younger. I've had some special moments where moms have come up to me and said, I watch your content and my daughter watches your content, and like we watch it together, and like that's the coolest thing ever. So yeah, I don't necessarily think of one person when I'm creating. I can't remember who said it, but I create what I want to see. And I think that's honestly the simplest, but most helpful trick when it comes to brand and authenticity.
Right. Now I want to kind of jump into navigating the different platforms, because, a lot of, it's not just making TikTok videos, it's, putting videos out on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. And I'm not an expert myself, but from what I understand, these audiences are very different in the way that they consume their content. So I want to talk about how, each of you, if you are adapting your content to meet the different needs of the various platforms. And I've also been super curious, like, is there a system like in karate, like you've got this belt, now you go to the next color, like, I finished my blog, now I'm ready to hit YouTube, or I've made it on YouTube, now I'm going to go to Instagram. Is there any sort of process like that? Lauren, let's start with you, because you also have a podcast and a show on HBO Max. Talk about navigating all of that.
So I don't know if I can speak to the belt systems of anything. Essentially too, because I started, like, TikTok was not around when I was starting. And so I feel like, just like as a viewer, I've seen a lot of my favorite TikTokers start on TikTok and eventually transition over to YouTube, more for like the longer format. And obviously YouTube has the monetization system in place a little stronger than TikTok right now, because they're so new. But I think for me, rethinking content has been really interesting from a DIY perspective. So I can do a DIY video, and it can be as in-depth or just like chatty as, the vibe is right for in a video, which might end up being 15 minutes. But on TikTok, the viewers' attention spans are much shorter. So they want to see the beginning and the reveal within like 10 seconds. So it's been a mind-boggling process for me to be like, okay, so like I have to break down this, like, okay, so if I shoot for an hour and a half, and that breaks down to like 15, 20 minutes on YouTube, that then breaks down to 10 seconds on Instagram, Reels, or TikTok. So it's definitely been a pivot for me personally, because I feel like I've grown up online making long form content. So an hour and a half long podcast on YouTube is like no problem. A 20, 30-minute video on YouTube, no problem. But learning how to create super short form and bite-sized content that is like, it's just been a really new process for me to kind of tackle as a creator.
Right. And Lizzy, you were also, started on YouTube as well. And a lot of your content, I feel like, is more YouTube focused. Do you want to talk about that? Or did you know, like, okay, now I'm going to go and start posting things on Instagram? What was that process like for you?
Yeah, so I definitely have focused so much on YouTube that I have, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not good at Instagram. I'm not good at short form content. TikToks I can come up with ideas for, but it's just, I think the way it's filmed, all of it is very different. Like, it's vertical content versus horizontal, and it's super short. And I'm used to making long form content and building a story. So navigating it for me, it's difficult if I did want to switch gears to short form content or something, but I plan to focus more on YouTube anyways. And so I do kind of use the other platforms as more like complimentary, like, oh, if you really like my stuff on YouTube, you can also like see more in depth of my life on Instagram, or see silly TikToks and stuff. But in terms of navigating, it's definitely a struggle. There's more and more things to post on, and it definitely becomes more of a chore. And then YouTube rolled out their shorts program, so I've been like making short form content for YouTube, which honestly, because I know how YouTube works, has been much easier than TikTok. um but yeah, I kind of continue to plan on staying in the YouTube realm anyways, so I do just use them as just a complimentary thing to my channel.
Now, Amelie, can you talk about your transition from writing your newsletter to digital content and video creation?
Right around the time of the pandemic started, I like kind of shut it down. I was a little bit disenfranchised by like the constant news cycle of COVID and like the end of the world type articles. And I was like, this is not inspiring me and it's not bringing me joy. So that's actually when I took to social media to talk about politics. But in an interesting way, I still do the same amount of research. I still put in the same amount of work to break down the news. So instead of like spending hours researching to write an article, I'm spending hours researching to make sure that the in 1 minute I can concisely express what's happening in the news in a legitimate and genuine fashion. So it's still a lot of work, but for me, content is very different than the written format. It brings me more joy. I get to have more fun with it. I get to show my personality more. And when it comes to like TikTok versus Instagram, TikTok is a space where I can kind of like be myself. I don't care if I have like no makeup on. I can be in my pajamas. I could be like eating a bag of Cheetos at 10 in the morning and literally no one will care. And then I can also express my opinions politically in a really free way. And then on Instagram, it's more like fashion and beauty, and it's kind of the still images. And then stories is kind of where I again express my personality and my character. But it's really interesting the way that these two apps kind of collide in a way that tells an entire story about who I am. So I think they all play equal parts in my branding.
Great. And Tinx, what about you? Navigating the various platforms.
Well, I just download my TikToks and repost them to Instagram and hope for the best. No, I'm just kidding. I got my start on TikTok. TikTok will always feel like home for me. I agree with Amelie, like it doesn't matter how you look on TikTok. And I think that's why I love it so much as a platform, is that, you can dress up or you can literally be in sweatpants, which most of my TikToks are in sweatpants, and people just care about what you have to say. Like, are you informing them of something? Are you being funny, or is it cool looking or whatever? It's like, it's kind of content first, aesthetic second, which it's very attractive to me. I grew up in the era of like the perfect Instagram grid where it's like only perfect pictures. And I don't know, I just don't think that that's that interesting anymore. So I'm much more at home on TikTok. But I do Instagram as well. I think the one feature that Instagram really still has over all of us is the story feature, which is like a great way for me to connect to my followers in a casual way. So I do like that. But yeah, I try to think about my content holistically, like a mini variety show, if you will. I'm like, no matter where people find me, I hope that they can be entertained or informed or whatever. Hope that I'm giving them a good product recommendation or a good laugh. But it's definitely a balancing act to keep them all updated, but it's fun. I mean, I really believe that what they say, like, if you find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I feel lucky to have found that now. So it's fun to keep all of them updated in their own way.
That's great. And Chloe, what about you?
I think, as we've all seen lately, all of the platforms are constantly changing and trying to keep up with the other platforms, and they're copying other platforms. So what I have found to be easiest is just staying true to like my message and what I want to show people. And I think, as Tinx said, like we're kind of going away from that perfect image and being much more real and connecting with people, which is why I opened up about my eating disorders, why I came out recently on social media. Like, I just want to make it a much more like organic place for people to connect, which I think is always was supposed to be, and kind of went away from that. So I stay really true to myself on all platforms. I think TikTok is really cool because, as everyone said, you can be yourself. You don't have to be dressed up or anything. And I kind of took that mindset and shifted it to my Instagram as well. And instead of being like, oh, I can't post any photos because I don't have makeup on today, and my mindset has really shifted of like, what am I showing people? What am I telling younger kids is okay? Like, they don't have to be dressed up to have a good day or things like that. And YouTube is kind of just my fun place because I just sort of bring people along with my day, and my days are always changing and shifting, especially with school and work and everything going on. So it's more the place where I kind of don't really care, and I just sort of, it's much more organic. But the other places, sometimes I get overwhelmed by how structured I feel like they should be, but I always remind myself that like the best content is the most organic and authentic. So
that's great. Now I'm also curious to know though how your content changed within the past, COVID era times. I'm sure before, you had a certain process, a certain way of doing things, and then the pandemic hit, and people, I think it's 15 hours a day on their screens. I think there was like a projected 60% increase, more people on their screens. It's like, were you feeling a stress of like, I need to supply more content? And also, in addition to that, there is so much, going on with, with George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, and people interested in educating themselves. And you also have people wanting to educate themselves more about COVID and how to protect myself. And there's just so many different things going on. I know, for example, Amelie and Tinx, you guys, I think, worked with the White House. Tinx, I think you talked to Fauci. Amelie, I think Jen Patsky. Can you talk about that? Amelie, do you want to start? And I know you did a lot of other cool initiatives as well, in addition to your videos and 2-minute times, working with a lot of other cool organizations as well.
Yeah, so I recently just came out with a show that's produced by Facebook called Don't At Me, and it's a roundtable with 3 other 19-year-old, 20-year-olds, and we sit down and we talk about real issues in a way that is digestible for young people, that makes sense to young people, and we talk about the issues that young people care about. So I just released that, and it's a weekly release up until Christmas, I think. And I work with the White House really closely. So leading up to the election, I was on biweekly calls with the Biden administration prior to him being elected, talking strategy. How can the Biden administration appeal to young people? And I worked with Rock the Vote. I work with a lot of organizations to help increase voter turnout and voter registration for freshly 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, new voters. And there's really a lot of incredible things happening in the future that I can't talk too much about, but a lot more really intimate White House moments. I feel really, really blessed that I get to be working with the White House. Like, the 12-year-old me writing about politics would never even dare to dream about the things that are going to be revealed over the next few months. So as horrific as COVID was for so many in this country, globally actually, and for everyone here, it was a challenging time. I think in a way it was a time period that I owe a lot of gratitude towards, because I got to focus on who I am and what brings me joy and what my passion is, and I got to expand my drive, and it gave me a platform to talk about issues that matter. So COVID was a blessing in disguise.
That's so amazing. And Tinx, what about you? Because I believe you kind of worked closely too.
Yeah, I worked on some voting initiatives, and then I also interviewed Fauci for TikTok and did a couple articles about just the importance of getting the word out about the vaccine. And it was, really the honor of my lifetime. Like, how cool is that to use this platform and this community that I've fostered for good. And again, I agree. It was like I was pinching myself that I was FaceTiming with Fauci. That was an unbelievable moment. And I do think that with great power comes great responsibility. I think that as my platform grows, my responsibility to use it for good for issues that I care about also grows. And that's something that I take really seriously. And obviously voting and getting vaccinated are like two no-brainers. So it was really cool. And it's really cool to see, the administration use us for good, like to tap us and have that idea, and that whole initiative of working with TikTokers to me is really cool. Like that's exactly what they should be doing. We are the next generation, and they do want to reach new communities that might not be super engaged with politics or public health otherwise. So I'm looking forward to doing more.
That's awesome. And Chloe, what about you? Were you posting more? What was your COVID situation when you're locked in your house? What did you notice from audiences?
I mean, I really used social media as a way to connect with people. So I definitely found that I had way more time to post more content. So I really took advantage of that and posted way more, connected way more with people. And I definitely had the mindset of COVID was a really horrible time for everyone, but I also think it was the sort of slowdown that everyone really needed. And it helped me get to know myself even better, who I am, like the message I want to spread to people. It was the time we all needed to connect and stop doing things just to keep us busy and really focus on what we're passionate about and what we want to share with the world. So it was a really beneficial time for me, for my business, for every aspect of my life.
Amazing. Lizzy, what about you?
I think it was a very interesting time, obviously, for everyone. It was, a bit tough because, with production, we have so many people coming around to help us out when we film our videos, and that kind of went away. But it kind of made me realize, okay, everyone is in the same boat. Everyone's going through the same thing. Everyone's stuck at home, like super bored. So I was like, okay, well, what can I do that'll inspire people? It was so depressing to read the news, and there's just so many things going on that I feel like people look to social media as an escape, at least for YouTube, especially with the more long form content. And I was like, what can I do that's fun at home that can inspire other people, whether it's to be creative or to build something or this. And so I kind of had to figure out, okay, how do I continue to provide this content at a time where I felt my audience needed it most? And I built like a slide in my house and just doing creative things that it was kind of janky, but it worked and it was fun and I had a great time and I was filming all of it myself. But it really helped me feel closer to my audience because I was just able to talk to them directly. And I think it was a time where I was able to kind of connect with my audience better in that sense. And things were a little more real. So I really tried to create content that was an escape for my audience, where they could feel entertained while stuck at home. That being said, I am so grateful for being able to continue to, be able to do what I do during the pandemic. I know it was really tough on a lot of people financially, physically, all of it. And so being able to be kind of that bright light for my audience was so fulfilling.
That's great. I want to build a slide in my house now. You've inspired me already. Lauren, what about you?
Yeah, same thing. I think it was just like unprecedented times that the whole world was kind of bonding. I mean, bonding makes it sound like it's a positive thing because obviously it wasn't. It was like literally horrific and horrible. But like it was an unprecedented time. We were all kind of experiencing similar issues. So on like an immigration front, I'm Canadian. So I went almost 2 years without seeing my family. So I think just like normalizing being a public figure, I guess, in the public eye, I think I tried to normalize the emotions that I think a lot of us were going through to kind of just connect the audience and the community. I know, I feel like there was a lot of aspirational content, like whenever I was making bread and stuff like that. Like obviously that was like fun and like a cute little trend and stuff. But I think there were so many real moments of like high stress and emotion that I think really connected me to my audience on a different level. That just goes a little bit deeper than other content I'd made in the past.
Cool. Well, now I want to kind of shift gears to talk about brand partnerships, because I know you guys are also working with not only brands, but also different philanthropies and organizations. Chloe, do you want to kick us off? Because I know you have a lot of cool partnerships in the works.
Yeah, I've been really lucky enough to work with brands that I love and that felt really organic to partner with them. That's one of my number one things, is I never want to push something or partner with a brand that doesn't feel right for my audience and right for me. So I've been really lucky to partner with brands like you mentioned, like Invisalign, Playtex, Victoria's Secret, a number of brands that I can't even think of right now, The Real, just a variety of brands that felt super cool to sort of dip my toe into each sort of category. And I'm actually working on partnering with an organization that I've been really passionate about for years now. And so we're getting that going, and I feel really excited to be able to, again, and in a new way, use my platform for good to inform people, to alert people to this issue. And so I'm really, really excited for that to kick off. But I think brand partnerships are obviously such an integral part of what we do. So to be able to pick the right brands and to promote the right brands is so lucky for all of us, I think.
Yeah. Amelie, what about you? How do you know, a brand is the right fit, or how do you select, what groups or organizations you're going to be working with?
For me, I really tend to partner with brands that fit with my core belief systems and like my values. So whether that brand is environmentally conscious, or they have an initiative to empower like Black voting rights or women's empowerment or LGBTQ rights, like it's really important for me that I partner with brands that align with who I am and what I believe in. So for me, it's kind of like it's a big vetting process, but it lends to the partnerships that I think genuinely matter. So I am with L'Oreal. I'm an ambassador for L'Oreal, and L'Oreal is all about women's empowerment and women's rights and a woman's worth. And I partner with charity organizations and with organizations that have charitable components. So for me, it's all about like the fashion and beauty with the socially conscious twist. So I'm very aware of that when I decide who I work with.
Cool. Lauren, what about you? I know you're pretty involved too with like promoting, not promoting, but about working about mental health and various initiatives on that front as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that I would say that's my number one like advocacy of like just normalizing and destigmatizing mental health. I've very openly struggled with anxiety for the last 10, 12 years or so. And so I think just like overall making content, and again, like I love partnering with brands and being able to kind of collaborate on those things. But I think even more than that, it's just like the day-to-day content I think resonates the most with being able to use your voice and use your platform to, again, just like normalize that someone that a viewer might look up to and has held on this pedestal as like aspirational also has really rough mental health struggles and bad days. So it's been something that I've leaned into a lot as a creator.
Cool. That's so amazing. And Lizzy, what about you?
I love partnering with brands that have been wanting to kind of have a philanthropic angle. I recently worked with GoDaddy for a big brand deal that I think I could talk about it. And we're working with Make-A-Wish as well. So I've been driving around LA and granting wishes to kids with critical illnesses. So that's been really filling for my heart, and it's been really interesting to just see the different struggles that different people go through. And then I did another initiative with LA Can. They provide food for the homeless at Skid Row. Really just being able to kind of use my working with brands to also like donate and help and inspire my audience to also get involved. The LA Can was really cool because it was so hands-on. It was so direct. I mean, Make-A-Wish as well. The impact is right in front of you. You know, it's not, I mean, even donating $1 for like team seeds and team trees, I think is like so cool, where it's like $1 goes, plants a tree. But for these, it was cool to see, just to meet different types of people and be able to see the impact so directly. I think that really, hopefully will inspire my audience to also get involved. And it could be anything from like cleaning up the beach, or like even volunteering at a soup kitchen, things like that, where you know, just like a little thing goes such a long way. And if enough people get involved, you can really make a difference. So I love leveraging, you know, working with brands, with also helping out with any environmental or any like philanthropic issues.
That's super cool. And Tinx, what about you? I know you're working with a lot of cool brands as well.
Yeah, it's that when I started out on this new career path, I really noticed that my followers were more receptive to partnerships that with brands and for products that I'd already spoken about organically. So that was something that was really important to me. I told my manager, I was like, I only want to work with products and brands that I've already spoken about. And he was like, well, that's going to be an uphill battle. But I think, you know, the audiences are smart, and I think gone are the days of influencers and content creators just like doing money grab partnerships. And I think it's amazing that you know, so many content creators are so mindful of the brands they work with, having a philanthropic angle to it, or being a product that they truly love. And I really do think it's like a new wave of good that's come about over the past, like honestly, since the pandemic. I think people are just being more mindful. So that's really cool to see. And yeah, I've been so lucky to work with amazing brands. Skims, Chipotle, we did a huge long-term partnership, Kiehl's, Clinique, Neutrogena. I mean, like the brands of my childhood that I grew up with. So it's just like really amazing to be able to partner with them. Very lucky. Here's to more good partnerships for all of us.
Yes, I know anytime I try like a new product that I love, not that I ever do brand partnerships or anything, but I'm like, you know, one day, like if I ever get a sponsor here or there, like yeah, like Chipotle, that's epic. I would love to have Chipotle all the time. Okay, so as we wrap up, kind of, I want to go around, kind of final question or words of wisdom from you guys. If you know, could give advice to someone who is looking to become a digital creator or a content creator, what advice would you give? Is there, you know, a secret sauce, a certain amount of posts they should do a day? Tinx, I'll throw it back at you right there.
Yeah. So a couple things. First of all, just be consistent. I think it's so simple, but like, you know, it is a job. I think Lizzy was saying like, it is a job. So you have to be consistent, and that really helps build audience. So set a goal for yourself. It doesn't matter what it is. Say, I'm going to post once a day for 2 months and see what happens. Like day in, day out, and just, you know, get that consistency. And then secondly, we've mentioned it a couple of times, but really create the content that you want to see. Don't chase likes, don't chase views. That's a fruitless endeavor, and people see right through it. So just create what you want to see, and you'll be surprised with how much it resonates with people.
Lauren, what about you? And also, you know, I'm also curious, you know, is there like a way that someone should kind of measure success? Like, oh, it got this amount of likes, that's good, or things like that. What do you think?
Oh my God. So I lived that life for many years of measuring success by, you know, analytics and likes and views and brand deals and AdSense dollars. And I was genuinely the most unhappy that I have ever been in my entire 10-year digital career. So I think now, to me, like, it has been so crystal clear that success is really driven by my mental health, but just like overall happiness and the overall like positivity of the community that I'm building and fostering. Like, I think that when I'm in a better space too, like I'm making better content. And although it might not be getting as many views, I'm feeling, you know, less like a sellout of, you know, making content that wasn't organic to me. Like when I'm in love with the content that I'm making, and I'm in love with the audience, I'm in love with like the partnerships and the conversations that I'm having with viewers and the relatability, and just being able to have that bond with an authentic audience that understands and is just like aligned with the content you're creating. Like that was truly such a pivotal change for me in terms of measuring success.
Okay, Amelie, what about you?
For me, success is measured not by likes or comments or anything like that, because kind of like Lauren was saying, it is detrimental to mental health, I think, for many content creators. But for me, success is measured by the response of my community. So if I make a video, an educational political video, and the response is, wow, this was super helpful. This was so informative. I learned so much. Oh, you completely changed my perspective on this particular issue. I'm like, that was a successful video. Or if a video I create has some sort of call to action, and I can see the metrics of like how many people signed a petition, or how many people donated, or how many people registered to vote, and it's a number that's bigger than like 100, then I'm like, this was a success. This video did what it was supposed to do. So for me, success is measured mostly by the response of my community. But for content creators who want to like take a leap and get started, my advice is like, find your niche, find what speaks true to who you are, and make sure it's something that you love, and just don't wait to post. It's never going to be the perfect time. Just do it.
Awesome. Lizzy, what about you?
I totally agree. I think finding your niche and jumping in, doing your research is important, but a lot of my friends will ask me like, oh, how do I get started? And I'm like, well, once you understand like your niche and start posting, that's when you're going to gain the most knowledge, experience, feedback from your audience, from your viewers, and really just taking the plunge and deep diving into it. That's kind of how I was able to learn so much from comments and just even the process of filming something, posting it, getting the feedback, and then optimizing that and continuing to do it. You just learn so much through that process. That being said, I think success is measured in making sure that what you're doing brings you joy. There's definitely been times in my career where, I'm like, I'm not having fun doing this. Why am I doing this? And so being able to step back and really think about, okay, is this really bringing me joy? And am I putting out something that I feel super proud of? And just because it could be anything. Like if you want to go out and skateboard all day and that's like what brings you joy, then like you should totally pursue that, because at the end of the day, as long as you're happy and you have the right balance, a lot of people, I think a lot of creators end up overworking and because it's hard to ever sign off, and I think that's okay as long as you're happy and as long as it's still bringing you joy and fulfilling to you of posting or not. And if that no longer brings you joy, then you really got to step back and pivot or take a break or kind of put yourself first. Like, okay, what do I need to do for myself?
That's amazing. And Chloe, last but not least, any final advice for women looking to break into this industry?
This may be obvious to everyone else, but since I had a different introduction to digital space where I was sort of part of it before I realized that I could make a business out of it, I didn't realize, like, especially on Instagram specifically, I guess, how important like having a certain story that people come back to you for is. Like, for example, was not a serious subject, but I was having a spider problem in my apartment. So I made like a story highlight about it and was like constantly talking about like the black widows inside of my house, and it was terrifying, and people would come back like every single day, and my engagement was the highest then because I had a story that I was talking about every day and people were interested to hear, always asking me about it. So finding something specific to you that people can't find anywhere else really helps with the engagement and bringing the right audience in for you. So that's what I would say.
Well, thank you so much, Chloe. And thank you to all of our panelists and to our audiences for tuning in. Be sure to follow all of these amazing women across all of their various platforms. You can also follow WrapWomen on Instagram @WrapWomen and on Twitter @TheWrapWomen. Enjoy the rest of Power Women Summit.